Well, hello everybody. It's good to be back with you guys again. Thought I'd put together a little video here, some things I've been doing to the Ranger, the little Swamp Ranger, and give everybody kind of an update on it. And you can see here the spades on the ailerons is something that I contemplated. The little airplane was designed purposely with heavy controls. I guess the designers thought that would, what I've read, they thought that if they made it heavy on the controls, more stable, that it would be better for low-time pilots and make it a more stable platform. But I found that to be extremely unpleasurable to fly. It was very heavy in roll, and then also super heavy in pitch. And you'll also see here in a little bit video showing I put some spades. I never tried just particularly spades on the elevator before, but coming up you'll see I did that, and I'm very pleased with the way it's worked out on both the ailerons. And like I say, right here you'll see that this was the first iteration of spades on the elevator, and where I had to mount the spade arms on the elevator hinge was a little bit different, but it worked out very well. And I have turned what was just a really sour, rough flying away airplane. It was heavy on the controls. I've turned into a very sweet, fluid flying feel. It's got very light, nimble controls. It's a pleasure to fly now in pitch and in aileron and roll and pitch. But you'll see in the end coming up here a video that shows the final version of the plates that I wound up using on the ailerons and on the pitch. It's something when you start out with spades like this, you really don't know exactly what size you're going to need because of the length of the spade arm ahead of the hinge line, and a variety of other things kind of work into that and dictate what size plate that you need. But anyhow, you always start out with smaller plates and then kind of sneak up on what you think you're going to need to make it work. But like I say, as you'll see here in a minute, you'll see the finished version of the final size plates that wound up getting used on the ailerons and also on the elevator. But as I say, what it did is it took it from a really heavy control, especially like whenever you would pull power and try and pull out of a dive after you'd done a wing over or whatever. It was just super heavy on the controls to try and recover and pulling back up, and you had to really fight it really hard, and I didn't like that. That puts a lot of stress on the control system. But you can see there's the final version on the elevator and also on the ailerons. But after getting that done, I've been, one of the best things you can do with any airplane to get better at flying it, and any airplane that's new to you, you're going to have to get used to its idiosyncrasies and its feel. The best thing for that is seat time. I don't care which plane it is or how experienced the pilot is. Until you get enough seat time in a new mount, you really can't fly it and use its capabilities, and you don't even know what its capabilities are until you just spend enough time with it and get used to it. You start flying by feel instead of by numbers, and that's what I'm doing here. The one afternoon I just decided to get the Ranger, and after I'd got all the control pressures kind of like I liked, well, I just went out and just started rolling a bunch of potential landing sites. Every one of these sites like this one you see here are sites that I could have just completely come off the power and went ahead and got on the brakes, stopped, and spent a little time there. But all I was doing was just kind of, getting myself down in the low speed range and the low altitude range, and working the little airframe, working the wing, getting used to it. And again, it's teaching me stuff every time I fly it. It's an old airplane, so it's got you got a lot of the characteristics from the older mounts. Like I say, this is a 1946 version. It was restored and redone in the mid 2000s, but again, it's still got the original airframe, and it flies like a 46. But it did before I've got the mods done. And I'm also got some mods. One of the last mods that I'm planning to do is I'm going to put some split flaps on it, kind of like what I've got on the Monster, and that will again completely change its characteristics and approach and landing, and make it much more nose low instead of nose high whenever you're coming in at 40, 45. But I've got that mod in the works. I've already got the hangers mounted on the wings, which was a big deal. It a lot more involved trying to mount flaps on this wing than it was on the Monster, and so I had to design, engineer, and also get the hangers mounted on the wings. And one of the big deals there is you got to just make sure when you're doing these mods, whether it's spades or flaps or whatever, you got to make sure that where those loads are being transmitted into the airframe or into wherever they're hanging, that it can be withstood. And so again, the split flaps, all the loads will be carried into the fuselage at the root, and also into the rear lift strut, not into the wing. So this just kind of a different way of going about it, but it's going to make another big difference in the way that the little airplane flies, and the fun and the performance that it's capable of. But anyhow, that's one of the next mods coming up. As I say, I've already kind of got started on that. I've got to pick up some more materials to get the flaps made. They're going to be basically the same dimensions as what's on the Monster. It's going to be 84 inches long, and I'm going to make the cord a little bit wider. It'll be a 14-inch cord instead of like what's on the Monster at 12-inch cord on the flaps for this one. But as I say, these are just some rollings that I've done on different old logging roads, and the rivers are all full right now, so there's no playing in the big river or the little river. But this is just some afternoon playing, and like I said, kind of getting seat time to get used to the feel of the airplane, and just me and it spending time together so that I can use it and enjoy it, kind of like I do the Monster, fly by feel, and as I say, not by numbers. But just enjoy the next minute or so, and I'll get back in at the very end.
One of my favorite stops, just visiting some old haunts with the Ranger. This is Lake Grace down in a little place just outside of Jessup, Georgia. One of my favorite places to stop.